her voice for that. Oh, yay, people are joining. So I'm going to introduce you. Hold on. I emailed myself something, so I have to pull it up. One moment. I should have had this pulled up. So if you all aren't familiar with Detroit Speaks, which I'm guessing you all are, or else you wouldn't be on this call right now, we're a youth campaign inspiring youth in Metro Detroit to increase social awareness, increase community involvement, and achieve their dreams. So without further ado, it's 6:32, and I don't want to hold anyone any longer than we have to be here. So I'm going to introduce both of our guest speakers today. We have Brittany Stallworth. She is a graduate of Howard University. And we have Lance Woods, and he is a graduate of Tennessee State University. And they're going to kind of share their backgrounds with scholarships, how scholarships help them, how to go about finding them, which ones to specifically apply for, and how much they can help you with saving money for higher education. So without further ado, we will just get this thing started, and let's go. Okay, so I will start with asking, this is just a question for both of you, and then so you guys can unmute yourselves if you want to. What was your experience like? Just give me the background of what scholarships did for you while being in college.
They paid for everything. It was great. I have no debt. It was awesome.
Okay, Lance?
I can't say the same as far as no debt, but it definitely helped out a lot when it came to paying for everything, books, tuition, everything. I mean, I would have never attained a degree if it wasn't for scholarships.
Sounds good. Okay. Now, question for both of you. How did you go about applying for these scholarships?
I'll answer that. So you have guidance counselors, right? That's in every high school. And you have to really like use them to your advantage because their job is to really like help you further your education. So I had a guidance counselor by the name of Thomas Wilson who became my mentor like when I was in high school, and he would tell me like apply for scholarships like 4 or 5 a day. And you know, we had like fast web and stuff like that I would do outside of what he told me to do. But most of the scholarships I applied based off him telling me. I had my resume, and I had all of these different things that I used to apply for them, and then I just applied. It didn't matter what the criteria said. Like I think I had like a 2.9 GPA when I graduated high school, and I had a 16 on my ACT. So even though the criteria sometimes would say like you gotta have a 21 or you gotta have a 3.0, I didn't allow that to stop me from applying. And yep, that's what I did, and I was able to gain $29,000 in scholarship money.
That's awesome. Yeah, I had parents who told me that I wasn't going to college because they weren't paying for it unless I found a scholarship. Well, out of state at least, and I knew I wasn't staying in Michigan. So I did my research as far as, because I knew what schools I wanted to go to. I knew I wanted to go to HBCU. So I knew what type of ACT scores that I needed. I knew what type of GPA that I needed. And so from there, I took the ACT. I did really well. And that was how I got my scholarship. So all of my scholarships were merit-based. And then I also played softball. And so all of the schools that I was accepted to, half of them gave me full tuition scholarships based on academics, and then the other half gave me scholarships based on athletics. And I decided that I didn't want to be tied to softball. So I only consider the options that were academic. But as far as the scholarships that weren't from the schools that I got, like the book grants and things of that nature that I got, I found those out from my guidance counselors at high school as well. So.
Okay, now you both talked about guidance counselors being a big help in helping you find scholarships. What are some ways, what do you all, would you say like the top 3 best ways to go about finding scholarships? Now, guidance counselor is one. What other 2 ways would you say that would be the best to go about finding scholarships?
Google.
Straight up. Google. I mean, when I was in high school, so this was 10 years ago now, when well, approaching 10 years. Crazy.
Yo.
Right. So we didn't have like, I mean, we had the web, we had fast web, but you have so many more resources now because the internet is so prevalent and it's like by the click of a button, it's so instant. So you got to use the internet. The internet is like the number one tool.
Yeah.
Outside of that, you really have to use those relationships that you have in your school. I know we said guidance counselor, but even though you have your guidance counselor, there's other people that know about different scholarships that may have been around. Like for me, I had a Coleman A. Young Foundation scholarship, so that's like renewable, and then it's a foundation where they continuously provide funds. So you want to tap into your network as well.
Yep. That was going to be my answer. Go to different foundations like the Skillman Foundation, like their websites and stuff. And you can always find different types of grants. But also, just looking at being a minority, like play that up. Like I know I really played up being half Hispanic when I was applying to college without any shame. Like I really played that up and I got my books paid for. So it works.
I wanted to add to that. The guidance counselor tip is awesome, but when you're all thinking about applying to schools, whether that be out of state or in state, it's important to find out what alum of these schools are already in your high school. So I know you guys went to Howard and Tennessee State. You know, reaching out to somebody who is one of your teachers in your school that went there, you never know what kind of connections they may have and what they may know about. So if there's a school that you're thinking about applying to and you know one of your favorite teachers is an alum of that school, go ahead and reach out to them and ask them exactly, you know, what the best steps are for securing scholarships with those schools.
Okay, so Britt, like you said earlier, playing up being half Hispanic, you did that a lot while applying for scholarships. Now, Lance, is there anything that you can add to this conversation? Is maybe, you know, playing up being left-handed, because there are scholarships for everything, for being left-handed, for being the middle child, for being first-generation student to graduate from high school, you know, headed to college. So what else, if y'all can kind of elaborate a little bit more on that?
And like you said, it's scholarships for everything. I didn't have anything that I played to as far as like that or being a middle child. But it's a world of scholarships out there. You just really have to just look. I really don't have anything else to add. Like I applied for like over 40 scholarships when I was in high school. I was able to attain, I think I got five scholarships. One was from Comcast, Leaders and Achievers. Like Comcast has a scholarship, AT&T has a scholarship. I got a scholarship from Real Life 101. Alpha Alpha Fraternity Incorporated had a scholarship. So it's so many different scholarships. Just no matter what, just apply. Tell your story. Your story is the whole reason for why they do the work. And I had a unique story based off the way that I grew up and my family and everything, and I put that on paper. And it was a lot of people that wanted to invest in my education because I had to triumph over so many obstacles, and I used that, and it was it was a way for me to get the money and pursue my dreams. So yeah,
That is awesome.
I know for me, I really played up, like I said, being Hispanic, but I also played up being a minority woman that was interested in the sciences. So there was one scholarship that I got. I can't remember exactly how much it was for, but it paid for my books one year, and it was just for being a woman in STEM. And then beyond that, throughout college, I was able to like get a research grant. Like, so we talk about scholarships, but then there's also like things that you can do while you're in school, like before you get there. And I had, over the course of 2 years, it was a $30,000 stipend. Basically, it was $15,000 a year. So I was like on scholarship, wasn't paying tuition, and I was getting paid just because I wrote this grant to the National Science Foundation, told them what I wanted to do, and they basically paid me to be this woman who likes science. So it's like, just learning how to write things in a way that people be like, yeah, we need to give her some money or him some money.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's helpful.
And are there any resources that you all can kind of recommend, like where people can go and get help with their writing? Because essays are a big portion of getting those scholarships. And if you kind of don't know where to start with the essay or don't have anyone at home who can kind of
Right.
guide you, what can you all kind of tell people?
I mean, I can give them my email address. I'll proofread your stuff. I have no problem doing that. I'm always down to do stuff like that, so I can share my contact information. As far as like what's online, you can always like Google example grants or like examples of good grants versus bad grants, or even like personal statements or things like that. There are examples of those. But I think the most important thing about like anything you write is not so much it's how you tell your story. Like you said, everybody has a story, and you just have to make yours sound really interesting, no matter what it is. Like one time I broke my toe, but why is that so profound? Like what did you learn from that? Why should we give you money because one time you broke your toe, right? So just learning how to tell a story.
Absolutely. I was going to say, well, when I was in high school and I was applying for those scholarships, I used my English teacher. I mean, and I would send her my my letter, and then she would proofread it and kind of, say her little input to best critique my actual writing so it can convey what I was trying to convey to the investors. And then when I was in college and I applied for scholarships, I mean, I really kind of, at that point, I was becoming a better writer, so I just kind of sent it in with that. But you always kind of want to use people to proofread it, even if it's your best friend and they're a good writer. Shoot it to them and see what they say about it, to be able to make it, sound a little bit better.
Sounds good.
Just to kind of touch on what Brittany said about telling your story and being, open and honest when writing your essays. The first thing is, of course, to be comfortable with telling your story. And when you're comfortable with telling your story, others are able to receive your story a lot better. So when you're writing, be truthful. And if there are things that you prefer to not talk about, then you have to make sure you don't just leave a bumpy story with a bunch of holes in it. Pull it all together for the reader. My question for both of you all, what do you guys suggest as far as follow-up for scholarships that you guys have received? Do you send a thank you card? Do you send, flowers in an edible arrangement? What is it that you guys do to maintain the scholarships that you had, and how did that help you with the next reapplication process?
I guess I'll answer first. The two scholarships that I received that gave the most money was the Covenant Young Foundation. That was $20,000. And in order for me to keep that scholarship, I had to provide progress reports. I had to stay in touch with my mentor. I had to do community service when I came home for different breaks. So that's the perks in having a foundation that provides those funds to you, because they keep you on track, because they know they keep you on track because they want to make sure you graduate. And then the same thing with Real Life 101. I had to really stay in close contact with my mentors. As far as following up with thank you cards and all of that, that's just going to come naturally, because you're going to feel so connected to them, because it's like, oh my God, like so many things is going to happen in life where things are just going to start to sit in. You're like, thank you for this, because I don't know where I would be if it wasn't for you investing in my education or believing in that dream that I had, to be able to obtain a degree. And I will always follow up and just tell them where I was in my life as far as like internships or anything that happened. They want to know those things, so be open to providing them that information when those good things happen, and even when the challenges happen, let them know that, because they can be there to provide you advice on that too.
I definitely think, am I echoing? No, that's just on my computer. I definitely think that keeping in touch with the individuals or the foundations that give you scholarship is important. I think the way that I did it was more so giving them updates on what I was doing, particularly with like that stipend, that big stipend that I told you I received. So it was more, a greetings, such and such. Um, just wanted to let you know that this type of research was published, just letting them know the good things that I was doing or that I started this campaign, even if it didn't have anything to do with like science, just letting them know the good stuff that you were doing, the cool stuff that you were doing. Um, and also having other people, like, so I had a mentor in college, having mentors in high school and in college is like a really big deal. And so sometimes they would like push things out to publications and like having other people talk about you. Sometimes it's really good to like know how to talk about yourself. Putting yourself in a position where like you're in the news a lot or you're seen a lot, even in high school, for softball and things like that. I think that helps. I think when people know your name, they're a lot quicker to give you funds and scholarships.
That's
I got.
Wait, were you still talking?
No, no.
Okay. That's awesome. Ooh, hold on, y'all. Leg got stuck. Okay, so I know, Brittany, I don't remember if you said it, but I know Lance said that he received some scholarships while being in college. Did you receive any while being in college? Or did you get all of yours, like, before you even started?
I got most of mine, and then I got that big grant while I was in college. And then my senior year, I wanted to, so some of my scholarship money wasn't necessarily scholarship money. Some of it I just put towards school. But like, and that's another thing that I was going to say is like sometimes you don't have to limit yourself to scholarships. I applied for different awards as well for like the things that I was doing in the community and the research that I was doing. And sometimes I won those. And then I was able to use that money for books that semester or, whatever it was.
That's awesome. Okay. Now, if you all can, because I know we're all big on this, but if you all can elaborate on how important it is to get involved in college. Because that's where, both of you said some of your scholarship money came from. So that's a very big thing, having mentors and being involved, getting involved in different groups, clubs, not only meeting new people, but so many opportunities that can come out of that. So if you guys can kind of touch on that a bit.
Sure. First, I got to say thank you to Bree. So Bree was like my mentor when I first got to Howard. Like, she was the one who like was like, you're not about to sit in your room all day. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. You're not going to do this. You're not going to join G-Dub. No, none of these things are going to happen, right? So like I knew that I needed to be active. But I would say most importantly, I think our mentors. Like I still talk to my professors from college on a very regular basis, and they still hook me up like to this day. Like for even now, because I'm applying for scholarships now, which is ironic because I'm applying to medical school, and so trying to get, and that's a whole nother ballgame of trying to fund an education. And so even now, like letters of recommendation, those are the things that like you don't necessarily think about while you're in school, but you're never really done applying for things. You're always competing for jobs. You're always competing for the next level of graduate school or whatever it is. So keeping in touch with your mentors. And also, you have to remember that, like, yes, you're in college now and everybody's having fun and we're all studying, but eventually these people are going to be your colleagues and they're going to move up the ladder, and at some point they're going to have these power positions. And so keeping in touch with people that you went to school with, keeping up with your networks, and then playing up your networks. Like, I mean, sometimes just saying I went to Howard is enough. Like, wear your Howard alumni sweatshirt in the airport. I guarantee you will walk out with like 5 business cards for absolutely no reason. So there's actively staying involved, but then there's also passively like just carrying yourself and representing yourself in a way that you make those random network connections.
Lance and Brittany, what advice do you have for students that, high school students that are aspiring to leave Michigan to attend school, and as far as securing scholarships and just advice on like believing in yourself and being consistent with applying? Yeah. Everybody doesn't get the opportunity to go away for school.
Right.
And so that's one thing that we take pride in at Detroit Speaks, because we acknowledge that. We acknowledge the fact that everybody's not going to get this opportunity. But if you're going to be in Michigan, take advantage of it. And if you're going to go out of state, take advantage of it. So what advice do you have for students that are aspiring to leave and go to DC or go to Nashville, go to Atlanta?
I think. Oh, my bad.
Oh, I was gonna say, the first step to doing anything is that you have to believe. Um, if you would have told me, what was this? Let's say 12 years ago when I was a junior in high school, that I would have been able to do it, then I don't know, because it was like up until my senior year that I really like had that belief in myself that I could get out of Detroit. I was like, yo, whatever it is that I have to do to make sure that I get out of this atmosphere of Detroit, and I just had to do it. So I busted my butt as far as in terms of like getting scholarship money. Because I mean, I'm the first in my family to be able to go away to school and go to college and all of that. So I never seen it done before me. It was like I had to have that belief in myself to go out and do it. And once I got down there, it was like, you know, it ain't no turning back. So that's what really like motivated me to keep going. And as far as just to answer your other question when you were saying like getting involved, I think when you get involved, well, I know when you get involved, like it makes you a more complete individual. It makes you a more complete person because you're gonna have a whole network of people that's like really on their grind, that's really on their stuff that you can really learn from. So like once I was able to get in organizations, I started, you know, gaining even more confidence in myself because it was so many people that was just doing dope stuff and they were so young, and I'm like, wow, like how they like this, I need to get like that. And then you just kind of gravitate to those people, and you just continue pouring more into yourself, and from there you look up and you look back, you're like, wow, I've grown into this complete person because I was able to strategically center myself around these type of people.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Everything you said.
Okay, so since you agree, the reason why it's great to have both of you guys on the webinar today is because although you did decide to attend schools that are in DC or in Tennessee, you guys are both currently in Detroit, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Could you guys briefly touch on why or what led you back? Was it a job? Was it an internship? Was it a family member? And briefly touch on some of the work you're doing in Detroit as of today.
Okay. I can answer that. And to add on to what Lance was just talking about as far as aspiring to go out of state, I think people don't talk about this enough, but focusing on your standardized test scores, I wouldn't have been able to go to school out of state if I didn't do well on my ACT. And granted, not everybody tests well, but I do think that, you know, it is more than the month before you know the ACT is coming up to study. I think if you put more time into studying for those tests, because I got a full tuition scholarship just based off of my ACT score. And I think people don't talk about that enough. And the other part of that is I think people don't talk about going to HBCUs enough. And if HBCUs have lots of scholarship money to give, and I'm a big advocate of HBCUs and black people going to HBCUs unapologetically. So I think that is also something that we should talk about. As far as what led me back to Detroit, after I graduated, I did breast cancer research for a year at the National Institutes of Health in Maryland. And I was just, you know, in D.C., for me, it was like young professionals like me were a dime a dozen. I went to Howard, you know, we were all doing popping things. And I was just like, you know, the kids in my city, you know, my family members, my younger cousins, they don't get to see young professionals that are doing things like this. They don't have these type of examples in the city. And I really wanted to come back. And besides that, my boyfriend was here. And so it was just, you know, it was just time for me to, when I thought about like where I wanted to raise my children and where I wanted to start my family, I knew that it was in the Detroit area. And so that was why I came back. And so now I'm doing some health disparities work in hospital administration in Detroit while applying for medical school. I just interviewed at Wayne State and Michigan State. And so it's just like, you know, the real commitment to like be here and contribute to this community because it's the community that made me. And then, you know, you go other places and you realize that you have something really unique to contribute. And I wouldn't discourage anybody from going elsewhere to get those tools sharpened, but I definitely wouldn't discourage coming back and using those tools here in the city.
Everything she just said, I agree with. But I'll give more of my story on why I came back to Detroit. Um, of course, I wanted to like make an impact in my city. Um, so I moved away from Detroit to gain the exposure, to really learn about myself in a way that I haven't learned before. And Tennessee was that place for me to become like that full person. And so I got my degree in business, concentrated in supply chain management. I did logistics work for about 3 years after I graduated. And then once I graduated, like I said, I wanted to come back and make an impact in Detroit in terms of youth development and mentoring. So every time I would come to Detroit, I knew a lot of people in Detroit that was like making things happen, like had their own nonprofit organizations in terms of like black males. And every time I would come back to Detroit, like I would host seminars or I would host workshops based with those different programs. So I finally racked up the courage and said, yo, like, let's make this move. And my brother was having a daughter. My dad was getting sick. And the timing was just like right for me to come back. So I moved back. And once I moved back, I hit the ground running as far as doing that work in the community. And currently, like, I'm working for a company called The Future Project, where we inspire kids to live lives of passion and purpose. And I always wanted to live a life that empowered myself and others. So I'm feeling fulfilled all the way around. When I was in corporate America, it was like sitting behind a computer desk for like 8 to 10 hours a day just wasn't doing it for me, because I knew I had this uniqueness in myself to be a model for black males and then also women. And then doing it in Detroit is like no better city than to do it in. It's because like this is what made me. This is where I come from. And I want kids in Detroit to see like, yo, it don't matter like what type of environment you grew up in. It don't matter like what you go through on the daily. Like if you can see or dream beyond that, then you really get to write your own narrative. And that's what I'm really here to do this work, because I'm truly passionate about taking other people's lives to that next level, and youth in particular. So that's why I'm here. That's why I do the work. I love it. I love my city. I love everybody else who in it. And it's like, yo, I'm trying to do whatever I can necessary to make sure that other people are living out their dreams.
That made me so happy. That made me so happy. No, that's really good to hear. And it's always exciting to see people, go away and come back. I always say, I'm in Atlanta now, but I wanted to figure out a way in which I could give back from where I am. And so that's where Detroit Speaks came from, and how this whole vision came to life, because I can't say that, hey, right now everything's directing me back up north, because it's not. There's something that's going on in Atlanta right now that I am supposed to be a part of, so I'm here and I'm working. And if, the direction leads me back home, I'm not against it and never will be against it. And so I commend people like y'all for coming back and hitting the ground running and getting involved and getting your hands dirty and being out there in the community and not being afraid of being out there in the community. It's so easy to do some warm glow. I call it warm glow volunteering, when you collect the cans and, and you rub somebody's back and scoop something on a plate for somebody. It's about that, getting the hands dirty, talking to people, getting your story across, because we all might look the same from the outside, but there's a different story that aligns with each and every one of us. I'm a first generation graduate just like you, Lance, and so it's like you're starting your own story, you're building your own legacy, and you want to make sure you're doing it right. Whatever right is. But I'm extremely grateful for both of you guys for talking to us about scholarships. Brittany might say, like, I was her mentor, but she had all the scholarships. I used to be at school, like, looking at my Bank of America account, like, all right, girl. I'll see you later. But she always had all the scholarships and was always super involved on her own. I really didn't have to tell her anything other than to not sleep until 1 o'clock. One day she didn't have to go to school. So I'm really glad to see you guys both doing well as a result of the scholarships that you applied for. And so for those seniors that are getting to that point right now, because this is early admission time, right? If I'm Brittany, you know, school. um, it's about that time for applying for scholarships and reaching out to your network and going to the counseling office, guidance counselors. Is there anything else you would like to say to any kid that is getting ready to embark on that journey?
I know that I would mind. I don't know if we can put it here on the side, but like if y'all need somebody to proofread something, or I can share my email address. I have no problem doing that.
Let me see. I think I can do it.
Do the same for me too. I also wanted to share that if it's like seniors that like it's different organizations out here that like college readiness and mentoring programs. You got even for women, like there's women's clubs or anything that you can like center yourself around to sharpen your skills prior to you going into college. If that's something that is like where you have the time to do, I would push you towards doing it because like for me, like I'm starting my college readiness and mentoring program in the city of Detroit, and I'm launching it next month. So what I'm doing with this program is trying to pour all of the things that I wish I would have had as a college student into a freshman. And everybody that comes through my program, like they get well-tailored business suits. When I was a freshman in college, like I didn't have my freshman year, no, I didn't have a business suit. Didn't even think about getting one. Like I didn't know the importance of it. I didn't know how to tie a tie. I didn't know how to do all of these different things. So it's like now I'm trying to prepare freshman males prior to them, going to college. And then once they go to college, like I want to make sure I keep them like on that path, just how I have foundations to keep me on the path as well. So that's the type of advice that I would give to any senior that really making that next step, and you taking that step serious, like it's like grind time because I mean you got to take your ACTs, you got to make sure you stay on the ball with passing all your classes, and then from there like you just got to grind. And when you get to your freshman year, you want to make sure you start off good because if you start off bad, it's kind of hard to get back on track. Not to say you can't, but it's better to start strong, and then you're going to figure it out as you get in college. But definitely take advantage of any programs that can set you up for success prior to entering college.
I agree. I think is extremely important. I was just having this conversation with my little cousin who's applying because he wants a tattoo. And, so just small things that you have to think about as you move forward. You can get a tattoo, but don't get it on your neck. There's nothing wrong with tattoo. You know what I mean? So just making decisions, because when you're 17, 18 years old, you really don't realize how things are going to affect you. Even in 5 years, there's a big difference between 18 and 21 and then 21 and 24. I mean, so things that are cool now, you just have to remember that they are going to affect you as an adult in the professional workplace. And I mean, those things, they are a reflection of you. And many of us, I don't know if everybody on this webinar is, but we're people of color. And so, we just have to remember those types of things. And presentation is extremely important. And I think that's from the time you walk through the door, I just think there has to be an aura and about the way you carry yourself and the way that you look. And even when it comes to, because some scholarships you do have to interview for. There were a few that I interviewed for, and those awards that I interviewed for. And, the way I talk to Bree when we get off this webinar is a lot different than, the way I'm speaking now. And so you just have to be able to know, when it's appropriate and when it's not.
I wanted to chime in on that. Always remember that there's no such thing as free money. So you are going to school on somebody else's dime. This money exists. It just didn't come from you. So that person who invested in you is going to want to know what's up. Hey, I gave you $20,000. Where the grades at? And you better be able to give it to them. And they better look good because somebody invested in you. And so when someone invests in you, you have to be willing to, talk to them and follow up with them because you don't want to burn bridges early. You don't want to burn bridges early, and especially when it comes to money. That people lose plenty of friends and family members over money all the time, and so you don't want to mess up something like a scholarship, especially when you plan, like Brittany, to go to med school or to go, to grad school. You're going to be in school for a while, so you don't want to mess up stuff your freshman year with, scholarships because all of that can come back directly to you. Don't waste anybody's money.
Please don't. I mean, just to touch on that a little bit more, that money is there. Like, all you got to do is perform, and it's like you can get through your education and obtain that bachelor's degree, master's degree, or whatever it may be, and come out of college with no loans. Like, that's crazy. Like Brittany said, she got out of college, her whole undergrad.
I came out of college $30,000 plus. I made money while I was an undergrad.
That's crazy, Brittany.
That's crazy.
When I start applying to grad school, Brittany, please be prepared for me to call you every day.
Wow.
There's money out there. There's money out
there for sure.
And if you know how to tell your story, and I'm very thankful because I had the right mentors, and that's why I emphasize mentorship, because it wasn't just, people can say I did all these things, but that's another thing, is always be willing to admit that people have helped you and never forget that, and always give back. Like, in 4 or 5 years, I hope that there are some of you that are listening now that are sitting here and telling people how to get scholarships. But mentorship is extremely important because I had people that were putting me in positions to be highlighted so that I could get that money. And I came out of, I think with all the awards and the stipends and the research that I did, it was almost $35K plus. I mean, I blew it all and didn't do well, which is financial literacy, right? And so but, it happened. It was a good thing.
But the unique thing about it is that you come out, you got a lifelong network. Like, those people that invested in you are going to be there for the rest of your life. They always going to be there to let you know, like, what's happening in the city or wherever you get your scholarship from. Like, they in your corner. Even if you, like, fall on hard times and it's like you need a job, or they got a huge network as well. So, like, you shoot them an email saying, hey, I'm looking for employment in this field, do you know anybody that's hiring this? I didn't got it all, just from being able to, like, have that network of those foundations. So that's extremely important, to really just build and continue building on those relationships even after you get the money, even after you graduate. Keep them all informed in that. Just a random email or a random letter, just to tell them how you're doing. It goes a long way.
And don't be afraid to talk about yourself. I've been trying to get my little cousins to understand this. And in any situation that you go into, you have to remember that you are the gift, and there's something that you bring that only you bring, and that only you can do the way that you do it. And if you can articulate that well, there's so much money out there. Like, just don't. And it's not an arrogance thing. You can be extremely humble and do it. But just never be afraid to talk about yourself and the gifts that you bring, because there are situations, there are a lot of people. For example, when I was applying to medical school, my test scores, they were decent. They were, good enough to get me an interview and things like that. But the things that make you stick out to where you go for a second interview for this program where they want to pay for you is not because, you have these extenuating circumstances that nobody else is going through. It's just the fact that you know how to write about them well and how to make yourself look really I don't think there's anything about me that's particularly talented or special. I just think I'm really good at making it sound that way. And that's, or putting it in writing and making it look that way. And that's a skill that all of you should work towards cultivating.
I'm telling you, I had a 2.8 on my, like, I finished with a 2.8 and a 16 on my ACT. If I got $29,000 in scholarship money, then anybody can get it. It's just about how you articulate yourself, how hungry you are about getting it. So despite the criteria, just apply, apply, apply. Some of them you're not gonna get, some of them you will get. Two of my scholarships I had to do interviews for. So I always felt like if this person interviews me, then I'm gonna get it, because I didn't allow my grades to be the sum total of who I am as a person. Like I never allowed that to be that. So if you can articulate your story, like you said, Britt, and really just show them who you are. Like I was always involved. So even being involved in college, like, okay, if you got a 2.8 on his GPA, what else is it that didn't allow him to be fully committed to academics? Well, he's involved in this, and he's doing this, and he's doing this. Then it shows that, okay, now we can give him some leeway on the GPA, but, he's doing all of these different things where he's showing leadership, and that goes a long way. And that I know this is kind of off subject, but that goes for internships, all of that. So
Yeah, I was gonna say that same competition that comes along with applying for scholarships is the same competition that you'll face once you're in college, trying to, become a part of organizations, become, an intern, become the president of your class. Like this competition thing is not gonna stop ever. Like it's there. It's there for the long haul. So why not get started while you're in high school, about to go into college, and learn how to talk about yourself. Learn what it is that sets you apart from the other 150 people who are applying for that same exact job, the same exact scholarship. And that's when it's important to really know about yourself. Once you know about yourself, you're not just looking to the left and looking to the right like, well, he ain't got this or he ain't got this, but you're like, I have this. And that's what's most important. So I think based off of what you guys were saying, it's so important to start at home when it comes to scholarships. It's so easy to go on Google and go directly to FastWeb where you see scholarships write about your favorite cereal, and you can get $200,000, and you're like, I'm gonna apply for that one. Like that's it. That's all I need. But think about how many people are applying for that versus the one scholarship in your hometown, at the church up the street that didn't collect it for months for this one scholarship, but you're focused on the FastWeb, big shiny scholarship. A bunch of those little mom and pop scholarships can get you equally, if not more, money than, going straight to that fastweb.com, just applying for, everything that pops up. And overall, it can be discouraging to just stay on that website. That was me. I would just be on that website all day, like, I fit this qualification, I could do this, and never heard back. So I didn't end up getting scholarships until I was already a student at Howard, and I was able to prove my performance after 1 year. But that first year, I was just like signing my name on all kind of loans, just like I was great. And so you don't want to do that if you don't have to. So starting at home with applying for scholarships, ask your local church, ask anybody around, ask your teachers, ask your principal, ask the security guard that works at your school. You never know who knows what.
And I would say too, because I'm in this process now with one of my little cousins, and just don't underestimate the things that you're going through. I think sometimes people don't, talk. So, and I'll just give this example. So when I was applying to medical school, I talked about how the fact that my mother has a debilitating illness really affected me my senior year in college because my performance changed because I was back and forth between going to campus and going home to help with my mom. And those are the type of things that they do affect you. So if you are that student with a 2.9 and a 16 on the ACT, it doesn't have to define you, and it doesn't, your test scores don't have to be everything, but you do have to know how to talk about that. And not just because it was a negative situation that impacted you, but what did you learn from it, and why does it make you a more why does it make you a better candidate for this scholarship? What did you learn about perseverance? What did you learn about self-discipline? What did you learn about time management? And those types of things that you can take those hardships that you face, because kids in Detroit and kids in this area, y'all are like rock stars. The things that y'all deal with on a day-to-day basis are unreal. And the fact that y'all still go to school and do as well as y'all do, like, I'm trying to be like y'all. So, but don't be afraid to talk about that and don't downplay that, because those are the types of things that mold your character, and learning how to put that into words, I think that can help you get scholarships as well.
That's awesome, and I kind of wanted to piggyback off what you all were saying about that, about talking, yourself up and not downplaying yourself, because I'm working with a talent coach right now, and when I got my job, I got hired in as an anchor, and at 23, that's kind of unheard of if y'all kind of know about journalism. So I came in like tiptoeing around, like I walked into the lion's den, like so many girls wanted this spot. I'm walking in blinded, like I'm tiptoeing around. I'm so meek, like, oh, well, I don't know. Well, maybe I don't deserve this. Maybe I shouldn't be here. I don't have enough experience. My co-anchor has been at this station for 10 plus years, so what am I doing up here? And she always tells me, stop being so apologetic for being where you are. Stop being apologetic for who you are. You have these gifts. Obviously, my news director knew what she was doing. She's been in this business for years. If she didn't think that I was capable or didn't think that I could do it, same thing with applying for scholarships or, going out for interviews, getting those scholarships, they know what you're capable of. So never be apologetic for where you are, what special gifts you have, because that's your power. That's something that no one else has but you. So that's something that I'm still learning at 23. It's still, I never want people to think that I'm like, oh, I think I'm better than them, or I think so, let me just chill, I'm not going to say too much about it, whatever. But no, it's not that. It's just, you have to be proud of yourself and just so unapologetic. So that's something that I'm learning. So you all out there, when you're applying, writing your scholarships, just be unapologetic. Let that be the word for the day. And just
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. I mean, one thing that I will say is when you're walking in your purpose and doing things that are aligned with what you're supposed to be doing, it doesn't matter what anybody else has to say. If they think you better than you, I am better because I know that I'm walking in my purpose. Like, it's a great feeling to know that you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing at this moment. And so when other people don't, are rocky and shaky about where they're going, and we've all been there in that place where we're like, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? But when you know it, you're able to walk around and embrace new jobs, new internships, new, school acceptance letters. You're able to do it with a smile on your face, and you're able to, kind of do your little brag because you earned it and you worked hard for it, and you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing in the moment that you're doing it. So, Danny, that is something you will continue to battle with, but when you know that you are walking in your purpose and you are doing exactly what you're supposed to do, it don't matter what anybody has to say.
That's right.
I think this has been great, guys.
Absolutely.
I think so, too. Does anyone have any last words before we kind of wrap up for the night?
I think I left it all out there.
Okay, I put everyone's correct email address on the side, right?
Yeah, put my email out there, too.
Okay, cool. I got woods.lance1@gmail.com and bstallwos@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool.
Thank you, wonderful people.
I'm feeling very inspired and motivated after all of this, so I hope
too.
everyone that tuned in is too. Thank you to our wonderful speakers for all of your priceless guidance. You can't pay for stuff like this. You can't. So thank you all so much. We really appreciate it so much.
You guys hang on.
Anytime.